Peter gave a presentation similar to this last year at a conference, and I very much enjoyed it, found it quite fascinating learning about DP vessels particularly. But Peter's going to talk to you about the eCMID DP supplement. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you so you'll need that.
Thank you.
And I would urge you to watch the first slide, okay, because he's doing the after dinner slot, which is the hardest one because we're all a little bit, you know, and it's warm in this room, but we're dealing with that. But I urge you to watch the first slide.
Thank you for that, Mike. Thank you for that. How do I move them?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's the first slide. How good is that? How good is that? Good afternoon. Hope everybody had a good lunch, and thank you for asking me to come down and speak. As Mike said, I've given this presentation a couple of times. What we're going to do is concentrate on the DP section and how to be DP accredited. That's me. I'm Peter Solvang. I don't know how this Zoom thing works. Whether is it just a screen or is it?
They can see you.
Okay. Well, I didn't know about that. So there's a recent picture of me. I didn't know on Zoom whether they could. So if anybody sees me in the bar later on, that's what it looks like. I can dream. Okay. A short introduction. I don't know how many, I believe you're all AVIs, but how many are DP vessel accredited? Can you quick show of hands? Nearly everybody, including Paul at the back. That's good. So none of this should be new. But we see a lot of reports where the DP section has been filled in, and yeah, sometimes there's room for improvement. As has been discussed a lot, from the 1st of January, all inspectors must be accredited in order to upload a report to the database. And from the same date, to do the DP supplement, you must have been awarded the DP category. So for those of you that don't have the DP category, this is what those that got it had to go through. 2 eCMIDs for DP 1, 2, or 3, plus evidence of DP training or work on FMEAs or Consweb training or DP system supplier training, or a Nautical Institute DP training qualification, plus lead auditor or equivalent qualification. That is what you need to get the DP accreditation. And then you can run around DP boats. Just a little bit of, so that we know what we're talking about. In the general section, there are 17 sections. There are 259 questions. In the DP supplement, which you've got to go through all of that, you've got to be, to get accredited, there's only 13 questions. So there aren't a lot of questions. So it's important that when we do the DP section, we do it thoroughly, we do it properly, because it is such a big subject, and it's a very interesting subject. And it's vital that this 5% is right. What types of vessel are fitted with DP? The top left, we were lucky enough, that's the Prince of Saudi Arabia's private yacht. We got asked to go on board and make his DP work for him. Passenger ships, shuttle tankers, dredgers, they've all got it. And just out of interest, why did he want DP on his boat? It's so that he could sit in his favorite chair and they could turn the boat so that the sun was always in his window. So now you know how to spend your money, yeah? It did work. So, what are we looking for in this 5% of the eCMID? What I've done is just give a topic. So question by question is a topic. So the first one is the FMEA. What are we looking for? The question says, is there an FMEA or FMECA on board? It's, does every boat need an FMEA? Well, no, they don't. DP2 and DP3 need an FMEA. So when you answer the question.
Sorry, can you say what an FMEA is?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Failure mode effect analysis. Okay? It's, you have to have an FMEA for DP2, DP3. And the important thing is it's a single point failure. One thing goes wrong, what's going to happen? And if that one thing goes wrong, the ship must stay in position. For DP3, it's slightly more than that, but That's basically it. So if you're on a DP boat, is there an FMEA in place? Yes or no? There must be, otherwise they wouldn't have got class notation. But what are we looking for in the FMEA? Yep, there's a book. You say to the captain, can you see your FMEA? Yeah, it's over there under the coffee cup. It's not as simple as that. Other inspection regimes will ask, is it less than 5 years old? That isn't strictly true. It can be older than 5 years. But what it says is it must be reviewed every 5 years. So what we're asking you to do, have a look at the FMEA. Does it carry a stamp by class? If it doesn't, you should report that it isn't approved by class. Has it been reviewed in the last 5 years? So it could have been written in 2009, but the latest revision is 2015. Yeah. Then the answer is yes. They've got the FMEA. It is approved by class, and it has been reviewed in the last 5 years. And then you're fairly sure. It is worth checking, because the question always, as we mentioned earlier on, not just the main question header. Underneath that, there's a lot of sub-questions. And one of the questions for this particular one is note the author and date. Now, the reason is not because we're just curious. It's because a lot of new builds, shipyards, they cut as much cost as they can in producing this document. And it's such an important document that by noting which company wrote that FMEA, there are certain companies which are notorious for just churning out a poor FMEA just to get class approval. And by putting in who wrote it, it might flag to the client, the end client, oh, we need to have a look at this one because it was written by whoever. So that's the FMEA. The next question asks proving trials, annual trials. For those non-DP AVIs, when you write the FMEA, it's a theoretical document and you have to prove the analysis by proving trials. So this one comes out when the boat comes out from new. So the proving trials document must also be endorsed by class. If their proving trials document doesn't have a class stamp on it, it's a fine. And also note the date. There's two ways of looking at this. Some regimes say every 5 years you have to do repeat proving trials. That again isn't strictly true, but it's what everybody's adopted. So if you're looking at the proving trials, it's the original proving trials, not the last time they did the 5-year repeat proving trials. It's the date of the original one. And the original date of the original proving trials sets the date for future annual trials. So a lot of times, yeah, we did it in June last year, so we can do it in June plus 3 months this year. No, that's not right. It's the date of the original proving trials. And that doesn't change unless they get a new FMEA, new proving trials, and it goes back to class for approval. Then they can shift the date. Annual trials. How often the DP AVIs on board up here, how often do you go on board and ask them for their annual trials and they show you the class, oh, DMV came on board last Thursday. Is that what we're looking for? No, no. We're looking for IMCA M190 annual trials. And those annual trials have to be within 3 months plus or minus of this original date. So again.
Isn't it following the anniversary date of class, plus or minus 3 months?
No, it's the anniversary date of this one. Yeah.
Because you have some pre-hire charter inspections where they're asking for anniversary date from the class.
Yeah, this one should have a class stamp on it. Yeah. And that is the official, unless they get it. And quite often we do a new FMEA because the original one was so poor, and then we redo the proving trials, and the owners forget to get it class approved. Well, then the gate goes back to you. So, there's an awful lot into it, but in broad terms, we're not interested in the last class DNV, whoever came on board and did their DP survey. We're looking for the IMCA. So don't go down the road of yeah.
That's only a guideline. But you
Which?
the IMCA annual survey.
All IMCA documents are guidelines.
Yes, I understand. Because it's all according to class.
Yeah, but we're not doing a class survey. We're doing a eCMID, yeah, which follows IMCA guidance. So when you're doing an eCMID, you're looking for IMCA trials. I know what you're saying, and that is why a lot of owners only do annual DP survey, and the guy comes on board and knows nothing. I shouldn't say that. Class surveyors know a lot, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. So as far as the eCMID is concerned, it is the last IMCA M190 trials. Yeah. Checklists. The question asks for checklists. What are you looking for? When the question says, are there checklists in place for field arrival? Are you looking that the checklists are in place, or are you looking at the contents of the checklist? Yeah, you've normally got an answer.
Well, yeah, I'll be looking for any potential checklist. Are they using it? Do they have a proper procedure? Are they using it? Do they have the 500-meter checklist? Do they have the checklist? And are they using them also when they're handing over from one officer to another?
Do you cross-reference the checklist to the way the boat is set up? Yes, we check the checklist. Yeah, you can't say
I can't do everything, but we're not there as you are there.
Yes, spot check. Very often, yeah, all the checklists are in place, they're all laminated, you tick the box and stamp the logbook. But the checklist isn't relevant to the boat. Yeah. Check that the buzz tiebreaker is open and it's a closed buzz FMEA. So yes, you cannot sit and go through all the checklists. You'll be there all week. But spot check it. Check the important stuff. Buzz tiebreaker, generators running, this kind of stuff. Because very, very often, they just tick the boxes. What Ian was saying earlier on, it's a tick box. Tick the box, stamp the book. And when something goes wrong, they've got big headaches. DP operations manual. Do they have to have one? Yes, they do. Does it have to be vessel specific? Yes, it does. IMO 645 has just been updated. It's now 1580. And there's a section in there, 1580 only applies to brand new builds. But section 4 relates to DP ops manuals. So there's a few new requirements, for example, location specific. Things like that are in there. So when you ask them, can I have a look at your DP ops manual, just say to the captain or whoever's with you, is this updated for 1580? IMO 1580. They'll say yes because they don't know what it is. Yeah, you can dig in. It has to be vessel specific. It has to be comprehensive. And very, very often, when you go on a boat and say, can I see your DP ops manual? They will give you the Kongsberg book. Yeah, so there you go, that told me how to use it. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for IMO compliant DP ops manuals. As I say, there's only 13 questions in this section. So I don't know how long I've got, but we're plowing through it. Capability plots. Another hot potato. They have to have capability plots on board for intact. That's with all the thrusters running. Loss of major thruster and post worst case. So they have to have those as a bare minimum. They don't have to be class approved, but they do have to be in place. If a vessel has been modified, like I was on board a ship recently where they put a big accommodation module on the back, are their original capability plots valid? No, because the windage of that boat has changed. Yeah. So check it. If like on this particular one, there was a big luxury accommodation block, just say, have you updated your capability plots to take care of that? Other things, verifying footprints. The question says, are they verifying footprints? Are the crew taking verifying footprints? 9 times out of 10, they push print screen, take it out of the printer and put it in the file. And if you say, what are you looking at on that footprint? They don't know. They don't know. And what they're doing is verifying that the capability plot is still accurate, because the capability plot is purely theoretical. It's run through a computer. So the verifying footprints are saying that the boat is the same as when it was built and the capability plots are valid. Yeah. If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down, because I've been shown where the back button is here. Worst case failure. And worst case failure design intent. Worst case failure is single point. What single thing can go wrong and give the boat the worst case scenario? That's what it is. And very, very often it's something completely insignificant, like a 24-volt breaker. Yeah, that 24-volt breaker, one, will take down half the boat. Worst case failure design intent is how the vessel was designed to comply with the worst case failure. So the design intent was that that 24-volt breaker wouldn't cause worst case. That's how the boat was designed. And the actual worst case failure is what will happen if you lose whatever. Again, it's worth asking the skipper or the DPO or whoever, what is your worst case? You know, very often they don't know, which is kind of scary. Well, they haven't looked at the FMEA, correct, but surely the guy driving the boat should know what happens. Yeah. So again, if they don't know, put it down, it's a finding. And back to the FMEA, good point. How do you know if they've read the FMEA and they've read the proving trials and they've read the DP Ops manual? They should sign a bit of paper in the front of the book to say, we've read this. Yeah. And it's very interesting that very often there is a bit of paper in the front, they've all signed it, but it's the wrong book. Yeah. So it's this 5% of the eCMID can give you hours of entertainment. Absolutely great fun. DPO qualifications. IMCA guidance will tell you, but if it's a DP2 PSV, do they have to have 4 DPOs? No.
Not necessarily.
No. But the DPOs they do have should be qualified to IMCA standards. So there should be 2 seniors, so there'll always be a senior on the bridge, and the junior has to have done the DP basic course. So then they're qualified. But also, when you come to this question, is there an electro tech on board? There must be somebody with a DP maintenance or a DP technical course. So when you answer that question, don't only check the guy sitting on the bridge, check that the lecky or the chief has done the training course. Yeah. DP maintenance and, as Andy mentioned, DP events, not incidents. Check the maintenance, check the whatever plan maintenance they're using, check the service. When they get DP service, Kongsberg will come on board or whoever will come on board and they'll have a service report. Just check that the gyros, the MRUs, wind sensors and all that stuff has been calibrated and it has been maintained and serviced. If it isn't or it hasn't, put it down as a finding. DP incidents, do they have a DP incident book? We'll have to change that to DP event book now. It's a very useful one because a little thing like a wind sensor sometimes drifts off. It's a sign that there's something not quite right. Have they put it in the DP event book? Or is the DP event book as empty as it was the day they put it there 3 years ago? Have a look. Not only is it there, but are they using it? Yeah. ASOG, we love these 3-letter abbreviations, don't we? ASOG, CAM, TAM, and TAGOS. Again, In the DP Ops manual, it says you should have these, and more frequently now, clients are demanding these. ASOG, we all know what an ASOG is. Activity specific, yeah, operating guidance. And the keyword is activity specific. If it's DP2 multi-purpose boat and they're going out trenching, whereas last trip they were going out ROVing or something else, check. Activity specific. Is this ASOG for trenching or ROV or whatever? CAM used to be called safest mode of operation, but there was too many letters, so they made it a CAM. But critical activity mode. Now every single vessel afloat, whether it's a passenger boat or a bulk carrier or an offshore boat, will have a critical activity mode. That's the safest way that the boat can be set up. And it doesn't matter what kind of boat it is. The Prince of Saudi Arabia's yacht will have a CAM. That is the safest way we can set the boat up, with so many generators running, open bars, whatever. You can have more than one CAM, because if a ship is designed to run with open bars or closed bars, you can have a critical activity mode in both. But you can only have one CAM per mode. Whereas activity specific, you can have 50 for each activity. What is a critical activity is defined. It is written down. IMCA define it. A lot of people define it. But basically, it's anything inside a 500 meter zone, plus anything where you can hurt anybody else or whatever. If you drop out of CAM, you can have a task appropriate mode. And what that is it's a reduced, you risk assess everything. You're in the middle of nowhere, you're in the South China Sea, and the sun's shining. Can we run with only one main engine? Well, yeah, you can, because you're going to sit on DP, no problem. But risk assessing. If we lose the main engine, we're going to drift. What's going to happen? Oh, no, that's too risky. We'll put the other engine on. So TAM is a very relaxed way of doing it, but it must be risk assessed. TAGOSH, I've only ever seen one, thruster and generator operating, I can't remember what the S stands for, but it's mainly for diesel electric boats. It advises them how many generators to run on each side, blah, 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 blah. I've only ever seen one. So I wouldn't worry too much about TAGOSH, but it is there. Yeah. We're getting towards the end, so if nobody's got any questions, we're doing well. We can have a coffee break. Great. DP references and sensors. Again, how many have they got? To be class approved, they must have the bare minimum, which is 3. Some boats have 5 GPSs and a fan beam. Are they compliant? No, not really, just about. But there's still only 3, because there must be different measurement principles. Check that they work. Check that the DPO sitting in his comfy chair can see the monitors. Yeah. It's stupid stuff. Very, very often the HiPAP monitors behind him, or the fan beam monitors over there, he can't monitor them. So just check that they're there, they're working, they've been serviced, they've been calibrated, and he can see them. Same with the sensors, we mentioned that earlier on, MRUs, wind sensors, gyros. But just make sure they've got them, make sure they've been serviced, make sure they've been in the book. Yeah. If you're bored, you can even have a look on the DP OS just to see that the gyros are all reading the same, but I don't. There's normally 3 of them. So that is it. That is your 5% of the eCMID. And I made it quick so that we wouldn't all fall asleep after lunch. Any questions at all? Any extra questions? Oh, yeah, I knew there would be. Yeah, go ahead, Gordon. Yeah.
No.
How about the annual travel requirement for TP1 vessel? Because sometime I go, they have a 5 years old, and that's not like.
TP1, they don't even have to have an FMEA.
I'm talking about test, annual trial.
For DP1,
Yeah.
there's no, it's a guidance, it's recommended, but they don't have to do anything. Yeah, because there is no redundancy. The DP1 boat, worst case failure is black sand drifts away. What are you going to test? You know? So no, there isn't. They don't have to do anything. But often oil clients will say, yeah, we want to see DP trials. Okay, then we'll do DP trials. But what are we proving? Worst case failure is it will black out and drift away. Why do you want to test that? Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, because some clients say that whether all the DP system is working and how is this system keeping, like the class just go and test everything is working or not.
It's a function check.
Yeah.
That's all they do is a function check. I was on one DP boat where they had 2 operator stations. And it looks like a DP2, but there's only one controller downstairs. So, you know, you're not kidding anybody. If the controller dies, you're gone. So no, you don't have to, because there isn't any great need.
So this will not be a findings basically, right?
No, I wouldn't put a finding down for that, no.
Thank you.
He doesn't need a microphone.
So I don't Peter,
Yes.
When we go and do and verify as ABI accredited, we're going to verify these annual trials done by your company or another company, etc. How do we know that they are competent? Because now I had an issue. You don't need to have a class approval to do a DP like you do if you're doing thickness measurements or underwater survey, etc. How do we know that the company's report from that annual trial is an truly, but apart from DP, you see also other companies. So how do we know that?
That is a very good question. And if Andy is not in the room anymore. Firstly, it's your experience as a professional, okay? You can read the trials and you can see if they're done. But IMCA are now working on DP practitioner accreditation. So that to go and prepare the trials, to go and witness the trials, you have to be accredited very much the same as we're here for eCMID. Now that should remove that question in theory, but I would still check. I don't care if they're accredited or not. I will still read that report and make sure it is compliant. And what more and more oil companies are doing now is they will take an annual trials report and they will dissect it to death. To the extent we just had one came back that we hadn't put DP FMEA reference on one of the test sheets. Oh, you're not MCO compliant on test sheet. But
I just had an issue with the verification from an oil company, and I said they're sitting with the class surveyor. I said, by the way, how do you know that that company doing the annual trial here is truly competent? And he was looking at me, the class surveyor, and I work for class myself. I said, well, you do a thickness measurement, UTM, class approved. You do underwater survey, class approved. Lifeboats, life saving, class approved. DP, 10 meters away from platform, none.
Yeah, it is a very good question. You do not. I mean, I was joking before with our.
You also have different people.
Do not look at the company logo on the front of the document and say, oh yeah, they're good. Don't do that, because every company, we do a good job, but we're not perfect. And I don't mind anybody checking our reports. So just because it's written by whoever, doesn't matter. Check it. Check it.
Yeah. Peter, just your last competitor, eCMID. You still can see the report from Portuguese. They were approved.
Now, approved by who?
They were recognized. And they had a good name. Since last year, I still see the trial reports, but I know that the guys, they're working for a different company.
Yeah.
So
again, do not, it doesn't matter what logo is on the front of that report, you check it, whether it's, I don't know how you say CMON or good, but okay. It doesn't matter if it's CMON, Novodenton, whoever.
But I see, okay, your logo, I see the different companies' logo, and for example, the content. Yeah, we're doing the same thing. Yeah? CMAR was like that.
What a
The
lot of
other companies that were going, and I was surprised, how you can go halfway, the same DP trials, when the others.
don't fall in the trap of, because the report's got an IMCA logo on the bottom, oh, they must be IMCA approved. Because IMCA don't approve anything. You follow IMCA guidelines, but recently IMCA approved supplier, results as expected, but they tested a HiPAP that wasn't on board. They tested an Artemis that wasn't on board with results as expected. Yeah, so don't, check it. And it's so easy to read this document and say to the captain, oh, where's your Artemis? Where's your, oh, we haven't got any of that shit, sorry.
Yeah, but there is also one thing which is difficult for the people to understand. Is it failed as set, or is it failed to zero?
That's an Ovid question.
There's always, but is it difficult to understand
How can it
for
be
the
class?
inspectors
Yeah,
where to find it?
but it's in the FMA, it's in every trial.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Every trial. And really, is that a question you need to ask? It's a 10-year-old boat. They've had annual trials, they've had proving trials. Do they fail as set? Well, they're designed to fail as set. That is for sure. But do they fail as set? Well, that's why we do the trials. Yeah. And IMCA says.
Sorry, so it's an online question.
Oh,
When you finish.
oh really? Thank you. And IMCA tell you that controllable pitch propellers should be tested every year. Variable speed doesn't have to be, yeah, because they generally fail safe. But in answer to the question, which is an Ovid question, of course they fail safe. They're designed to fail safe, yeah, but they're tested every year anyway. Why am I the first online question?
Emmanuel Shaft is asking, should the DP maintenance certificate be the same as for the DP system fitted on board, or could be for any DP system, i.e. KPOS certificate holder on board vessel fitted with RR or GE DP system? And then what is the frequency at which sensors and PRSSs should be calibrated?
Good question. Very good question. Or a number of very good questions. The first one is, the guidance actually says, is there a DP maintenance or technical course holder? And I think it also says from the system supplier, I think. But I'll have to double check that one. Because each system is different. So if I was on a vessel with, as he says, Rolls-Royce system, and the Electrotech only has a Kongsberg system training, then I would comment on that, yeah, I would comment on that. Because he isn't trained on the equipment on board. It's like vessel familiarization. You have to be trained on the equipment on board, yeah. So I would say, yes, there is an Electrotech with DP maintenance training, but not on vessel type, is what I would put on that report, yeah. And the other ones, good question again. Gyros should be annually unless the equipment manufacturer specifies a different. If I went on board and they hadn't had the gyros serviced annually, I would comment on that because they should be done annually. MRUs, some say it's 2 years, some say you just wait till the battery goes flat. But again, I would check it, and if it hasn't been done in the last 2 years, I would comment on it. Yeah. They can come back and say, yes, but it doesn't have to be serviced until the battery goes flat, or it doesn't have to be serviced for 5 years. But that's good because at least they've had to check it. Yeah. Instead of they forget that it's there. Oh, the MRU is not working. Oh, there's the other MRU not working. So I would say the guidance says every 2 years. And if they haven't been done in 2 years, I would comment and let the owner come back and say, yeah, we don't have to. Then at least they've checked it. Wind sensors, well, really they work or they don't. I don't think there's any guidance on on frequency of servicing coincidences. I'm looking at you because I can't see him, you see, you're
that's
in the
good.
spotlight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I hope that answers his question.
Absolutely.
Anything else? I don't know how I'm doing for time.
You're fine, you've got a couple of minutes. So.
Don't say that, that's the wrong answer. Any more? If not, I will hand back the magic wand to Mike and say thank you very much.
Peter, thank you.